So, hi everybody. As promised, I'm going to run through a little bit of watercolour technique. You can see here I've got water. I've got two lots of paints because I wanted to demonstrate the difference between just cheap paints and the better quality ones. I've got an array of brushes, probably won't use all of them, and I've got two types of paper, and that's because I just wanted to say that in terms of any materials, any medium you come across, you don't need to have the expensive version to do work with that medium, but there are advantages to it and it can help. So I just thought I would show you the difference. If you want to work with kids paints on photocopy paper or like this ordinary sketchbook paper, it'll be fine. What you'll find is you won't get maybe quite such an intense colour and your paper might buckle a bit with the water. And if you find you like it or you're interested, you might want to invest in, say, some watercolour paper that will take the amount of water that you use better and will be more sustainable. So I'll show you both and then you can experiment and make up your own minds. So the first thing we probably will do with watercolour is lay down a background colour. You can do that just by mixing, and I'm not choosing colours for any reason, and then just painting them on. And you can see I'm using a very big brush here and a lot of water, and I can mix colours together so that the colours will blend on the page. And there's a particular thing that happens with watercolour when you work with the paint while it's still wet. It allows you to do some blending like that. If I do the same on this watercolour paper, it will work in a very similar way, but the paper will be less reactive and it will hold its flatness better. So you can see I'm just laying the two lots of paint down together, and because there's still a lot of water and it's still wet, I can blend the two colours together. And you can see I'm using my cloth a lot to get rid of excess water, because inevitably you're going to be using a lot of water. And let's just do the same with these paints. I'll use similar colours so you can see. So I'll put the colour down, and already you can see there's a bit more pigment in that. Colour's a bit stronger. And you know, you might find that you enjoy working with watercolour and it's worth investing in that. But you know, this is perfectly adequate. You might have to work a little bit harder to get a dark coverage. And if I do the same on here, on this paper, again, it's just giving me a little bit more flexibility with the paper, not buckling. So I'm going to carry on just on my sketch pad because that's closer to what most people will have, and you can see what I mean. There's a little bit of bumpiness in the paper where the water's affected it, but that needn't stop us. So if you want to, with watercolour, the best way to think about it is the components of the name. It's water and colour. You use water to achieve any paleness. So if I put a lot of water and a lighter colour, a bit of colour, I get close to white on my page. And the more pigment I add in, the stronger the colour is going to be. And I want a lot of water, certainly to start with, because it helps me blend on my page. You can see that there's a lot of liquid in that, and what I can do then is I'm cleaning my brush, and I can use that clean brush to lift out some of that while it's still wet. So you can can see that that got taken off the page quite easily. Another thing you can do, if you wanted to make a quite smooth background, is you lay down a layer of water first. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to work because it looks like there might be something a little bit greasy on the page. But with the water on the page already, it gives you that much more time to lay the pigment out in the water, and the water pulls the paint out so that it flattens on the page. There's two main ways of working with watercolour. If I switch to a smaller brush, you work what's called wet in wet. So if I was like working on this that I've just painted already, I could start adding in something that might be close to representing, say, hills in the distance, and I'm working on a wet background, and what that gives me is you can see that there's a very soft division between the two areas of colour. The line here is blurred by the amount of liquid there still is on the page, and that can be a really nice thing to do. For example, if I wanted to make this into a night sky, I might want something like clouds, so I'd mix a soft kind of grey colour, and I can just touch in a little bit of colour, and it will spread out into what's already there and give me a kind of softness that's very useful for landscape. And again, so if I was treating this as though it was land, I could come closer to the foreground and bring some green in. That green's a bit too lurid, so I'm going to knock that back with a bit of orange. And you can see that you can start to build up colours in very soft divisions.